I'm so excited to talk to you about a plant that I've been herbing with for the past 30 days. Great benefits, wonderful benefits. This is one of my most favorite ways to study myself is by the use of utilizing plants to bring it into my experience and notice what are the effects that I've noticed for myself personally, as well as researching these plants as well. But I think that the best way that you can know something is to experience it within yourself and, document those things. So the herb that I used this month is it's called agrimony. I don't know if you've heard of agrimony. It's not a plant that I've heard of for a very long time, but let me tell you about agrimony. Agrimony it's in the rose family. This plant doesn't taste like rose to me, but it's in the rose family. And for me, it had a sweet taste. It had a sweet taste, maybe a little bitter, um, depending on how I steeped it, because I used it as a tea. Um, yeah, but it was definitely a pleasant taste that I had from this plant. And I'm going to talk about how this impacted me, physically, how it impacted me in my thinking, how I felt emotionally, and then I want to talk about the magic that I experienced from the spirit of this plant. So exciting, so exciting. Um, but let me tell you about why I chose agrimony. So I was in this herbal apprenticeship, and in this apprenticeship, it was with a group of people. We were doing a meditation. The facilitator was guiding us through a meditation, and in this meditation, all they wanted us to do was imagine yourself somewhere, and coming into contact with a plant, or yeah, a plant. And when we did this meditation, when we were done, we were also instructed to write about the plant, what it looked like, just the details of the plant. So it was the first time I had ever done anything like that. And I remember the plant that I thought about was, had a lot of green, but it also had this pretty vibrant yellow flowers to it. And, you know, I didn't know what plant that was. So I kept a mental note though of doing that meditation and having used that plant. And then at the same time, I remember when I would go to pick up herbs locally at that time, I would go to certain health food stores to pick up herbs. And I would always see this herb in a package called agrimony. But I had never heard of agrimony. There would be no reason for me to get agrimony. I was usually going to the store to get herbs that I knew about and that I wanted to use, and for whatever reason I was trying to use them. But I always saw agrimony and it always piqued my interest. I don't know if it was the sound of the name. I don't know what it was, but I always thought about it. And as I started working with herbs more, we never talked about agrimony, but something compelled me to order this herb from a higher quality herb store online that I knew about. So I ordered it several months back and hadn't used it at all. But right now, I'm in this space where I want to, for this year, utilize herbs to help me support increasing my intuition and growing in my spiritual self more. And so I've listed herbs that I wanted to use. And at that time, I'm like, wow, I've had this mysterious herb, agrimony. I really want to know what I experience when I try this, when I try it. And so I've used it the whole time as a tea. I've steeped it. I could have created a tincture to do this with, but this whole 30 days I've used it as a tea. And so these are the things that I noticed. I'm going to start out with what I noticed physically first. So physically, the first thing I noticed when I started agrimony is that when I would wake up the next day, I would feel somewhat tired. I would get deeper quality sleep, and then I would wake up and I would feel a little slowed down. I did drink this tea in the evening. Um, and I did that because somewhere I did know that it's used for sleep in some type of way, but I wasn't sure. So it inclines me to drink it in the evening before I went to bed. And so I would wake up feeling a little slowed down, a little tired. And so that's the first thing that I noticed. But I would always be able to get up, get my day going. I never felt drowsy or sluggish throughout the course of my day. It was just when I first woke up. So that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed is it increased my urinating. It had this diuretic effect for me. And also with that, what it made me think of is that it's supportive to my kidneys because of that, because it was helping to, flush toxins out of my system, which is what is usually happening when we're urinating. It's a way for toxins to come out of our body through our urine. So I noticed that I felt dry because um, this herb we have different tissue types. There are different energetics or qualities of different plants, and this is considered an astringent. And astringent means that it pulls the water, from your tissue, and it shrinks things. I say that to say it can be drying. And I have a dry tissue type. There are two different tissue types. There's moist tissue type and dry tissue type. I have a dry tissue type naturally. So by drinking this, I felt more dry when I would wake up in the morning. Like my mouth would feel more dry. I had to drink more water. And it doesn't mean that if you have a dry tissue type and you drink it and there's a drying type of herb that you can't, it's not good for you. It's just you may need to balance it with some other herb that's moistening. But right now, I'm just using this one herb. I'm not balancing with, I just want to know how agrimony impacts me. So I continue to do that. And what I needed to do was drink more water basically throughout the course of utilizing agrimony. And that's been fine. Water has tasted amazing during these past 30 days, to be honest. But what else I noticed? The third thing that I noticed was on my digestion. I noticed that had an increase in my bowel movements. They seem to be, I hate to sound, but they seem to be much more quality types of bowels. That's, I'm not gonna go any further with that, but that's what it seemed like. Definitely regulating, and it also increased my appetite, which I've had one other herb when I was working in this herbal apprenticeship that did that. But I noticed it with this herb as well, that my appetite increased. Everyone doesn't want their appetite to increase, but I felt like I needed that nourishment. And it was just about me selecting the things that um, were beneficial to my body while I had this increased appetite. I think that evened out a little bit as time went on, but I definitely had an increased appetite. And what I find interesting about that, especially for people who are dealing with high levels of stress, or some people who are dealing with sadness or depression, is for some people when these things are happening, they lose their appetite. And so I felt like this is interesting because this might be beneficial to someone who has lost their appetite because of those things and wants to be able to eat. So I just, it's something I noticed. It really helps with my appetite. It really helps with digestion. Um, so let me just summarize what I've read in the literature about how this impacts and what it's known to help with physically. Because I never read about these things before I try an herb. I want to try the herb first so I don't have this placebo effect thinking that it's doing something because I've been told that it could possibly do these things. So I didn't want to read any of that. So I usually use an herb first, and then afterwards I'll study through literature what it's been known to be used for. And so some of the things physically that this herb has been known to be used for is that it's been thought to have a diuretic effect, which I experienced. It's been definitely thought to help with the liver and with digestion, which I experienced. It also has been thought to increase the appetite because of its increase, I believe, in the production of bile. And so I noticed that, which was, when I see those things, I'm just like, oh, this is so beautiful to be able to recognize these things after you've used it. Like, oh, so this wasn't in my mind. Like, these are things that it has been known to be used for. I just think I love that. But what also I saw that it could be helpful for, or it's stated in literature, is that it could help with inflammation and and joint pain for some people, or arthritis for some people. And I don't have any issues with pain going on right now, really. So I can't say it's something that I necessarily notice one way or the other. I haven't had any pain, so. And then also, it's been known physically to be helpful for the skin. And my skin has been doing beautifully since I've been changing so many things about how I treat my body, what I ingest anyway. So my skin just looks so good right now. I didn't notice it changing. I didn't notice any problem with my skin utilizing this plant, agrimony. So, but it is thought that if you use it like and apply it to your skin, that because it has this astringent effect, that it can be helpful for the skin. So that's what I noticed physically. Now, in my mental space, in my thoughts, what I noticed is that I had some situations going on in my life this past month that could cause me to worry in my head, to think in my head, to, go over things over and over again in my mind. And I noticed that I wasn't doing that, even though I had some things that were very close up to me that could have caused me to be thinking on those things constantly. But what I found myself doing was thinking about something and really, more than anything, getting clarity about it and letting it go. Getting like some kind of insight from it is really what I felt I've experienced this past month, is that I have thought about things that might be concerning to me, had some insight about it or inspiration about it, and I let it go. But it's not been anything that's been weighing me down in my thoughts or what I'm thinking about or thinking over and over, what we call sometimes perseverating or ruminating over things. I haven't been doing that. So I thought that that was pleasant. I really enjoyed not having those experiences. But I want to take a pause for a minute. Hello, if you're still here, I want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting this channel. I would like for you to like and subscribe to this video, subscribe to this channel. And I wanted to share with you my mission. My name is Crystal Turner. I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner who is going holistic because I know to be whole is to be healed. And in my mission as a person who has worked in psychiatry for over 20 years, there's so much I've learned in that space, but I've learned so much beyond that space too. And I've also learned through my personal experiences. And I want to share those things with you if you're someone who's looking to step into a next level of yourself, a place of healing for yourself. If you're tired of waking up and feeling the dread of the day, rather than being able to feel the joy of your day. If you're someone who is tired of going from 0 to 100 because it's so hard to deal with your anger, or if you're someone who wants to be able to really be a part of life rather than being on the sidelines of life, then I want to support you in that. I have a 1-hour wellness session that I can offer to you to be able to go over, what your goals are for yourself in terms of improving your mental well-being, and how we can strategize with a plan in that hour session to be able to support you in that. So the link to that will be in the comment section, and I look forward to serving you. Okay, so we talked about what I experienced physically, talked about what I experienced in my thoughts. Now, emotionally, this was also great because, again, I had some experiences this past month that really could be things that I get anxious about, that I, stress over. And with those things, I haven't, emotionally, I felt secure. And I'll talk about some of the benefits with agrimony and what it's thought to benefit with emotionally. But I really felt secure, in my emotions, like no need to really worry. And that also helps me in certain situations to just say what I really needed to say and then not be concerned after that in terms of what I had to say. Just saying it and letting it go and feeling protected, and, I can say what I have to say and not worry about what the after effects will be. When I was reading literature, it also talked about how it can help with nervousness for some people, or worrying and those types of things, that it helps to bring a sense of calm and relaxation. And I do think I was feeling that. It's not like I was wound up on 10 before this, but I do feel like the way I moved through certain challenges emotionally, I didn't let it get to me in that way. So that's what I experienced emotionally. Now I want to talk about the magic though, because the magic is just like where I'm just so I'm blown away and I'm liking this. I'm really liking this plant. I think it's one of my favorites right now. It's one of my favorites. Like no, listen, I let me just tell you. So I told, as I mentioned, one thing I did know about this plant is that it has some benefit with sleep, but I didn't know what those benefits were. So uh, what I noticed is that it really impacted my dream world. Now, it's interesting because last month I drank a plant called mugwort, which has all these thoughts and about it helping with dreams. And while I did have a particular dream the last 30 days that I used mugwort, what I experienced with agrimony was let me know agrimony is for me when it comes to dreams and intuition. So, how can I say? So, I don't want to tell all of my dream, but I will tell a part of it. So, in this dream, I first of all, let me say this. Well, let me just say the dream first. I don't know which one to tell you first. So, first of all, in this dream, I it's a there's a person that I've connected with who works in healing spaces, and we have never worked together before. I'm sorry, we haven't worked together. I've gone to their retreats or done some of their trainings or workshops in terms of just working on myself. So this person, though, in the dream was guiding me into this facility. And in my dream, the facility used to be, you know how you just know a thing in your dream. In my dream, this facility used to be a mental health convent, and I say convent because I also feel like in this dream, the spirit of my one of my grandmothers was there. I have a grandmother um, who dealt with the extreme trauma living in the South when she was a teenager. And from there, she had like, I think, a nervous breakdown and dealt with like psychosis. And in those days, you were institutionalized in like these convents. And so it was like that. Um, the place was like that. And it's so when I went in there, I didn't know it at the time, but or maybe I did subtly, but definitely when I woke up I did. That this convent was like putting me in the realm of what my grandmother was in and what she experienced, which means a lot to me because she's one of the motivating factors for me going into psychiatry, because there's a long history of her experiences and just her the impact of things. And so when I got into the facility, the healer who led me in there, I no longer saw them in the dream anymore. But in the dream, I knew that this convent was a place that I was to use for now healing, for mental health experiences and issues. It was really so clear, and there were other things that happened in the dream, but I don't, I think that's just for me to really meditate on and use, right? But what was interesting about this is when I woke up, I know most of you probably can relate that you wake up from a dream and before you know it, you've forgotten the dream. You don't remember what it is. This dream was vivid, but then when I woke up, it was so strong in my mind. And not only was it strong in my mind, um, it's like I was getting more clarity around what to do in my own life related to that dream. So what I did at the time is I got my voice recorder and recorded everything that happened in the dream, and I remembered it in such a strong way, which I never do. And in it, and when I woke up, it really led me to more ideas on what it is I want to work on, what I'm working on in real, in this awakening life or this awakened life. And so it was really profound. And so going beyond that, like a week later, I was telling my daughter about the dream. I was telling my daughter about the dream, and I was I was getting an epiphany as I spoke with my daughter, because when I was telling her about the dream, I started out telling her about this healer whose programs I've went through was the person guiding me into the facility. But right before I told her that, maybe within 30 minutes before I was telling her this dream, that particular healer had reached out to me asking if I wanted to have a meeting to talk about how we could work on something together, which was totally random. And I didn't even think about it until I was telling my daughter about the dream. Like, wait a minute, this person was guiding me in, and they just literally just reached out to me. It was so I just can't even give you the feeling except that my own knowing of how intuitive and how much intuition and spirit was behind that. It's just amazing, and for me it's pure to the spirit of the plant and the magic of the plant. And I just love this plant now. I just love this plant. It's been so many great benefits. And as I mentioned, even as I, sit and reflect on it more, the 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 spirit of how I walked into that convent, and it was like the I really am trying to think of the word, the stage of it's like my grandmother beyond that was leading me there and giving me insight on things to do. It's so beautiful. I could cry about it because it's so beautiful. You know what I mean? What that means to me, and you know, and just knowing how I've experienced dreams in the past and how much came from that is just blew me away. And so again, I hadn't read about the benefits of agrimony in terms of dreaming at all. I didn't even think that it had any impact with dreams. But when I did read about it after this, because as I mentioned, I didn't read about these things until after I've had the experience with utilizing the team. It definitely spoke about how some literature spoke about how agrimony can help give you more vivid dreams, and to recall your dreams and to have clarity in your dreams. And that's absolutely what I experienced. And I've had numerous dreams with this plant. Some of them haven't been as profound as this one, but there have been some other ones that definitely I've written down. And it's like, okay, let me get what the meaning is from this for me, trusting myself intuitively to understand what this was telling me, as opposed to me having someone explain what it means to me or looking up what the meaning of this is, to be able to trust my intuition, because that is what was at play. That is what is at play with this plant when I'm using it. Profoundly impacting my intuition, just in synchronicity, and just beautiful, just beautiful. I don't know if it's something that you would want to try, but I love studying plants, and more so studying them within myself, and then understanding other people's experiences. And so much healing I've had using plants. It's like a whole new world. I do see plants as medicine, and it's so beautiful because the way I see it is it's not a medicine that you have to manipulate to have it do one thing in the body, causing all these other side effects when we're manipulating. I see it more as using it and letting it work harmoniously in my body. And it's never just for one area, because it has benefits everywhere from what I see. And so, Agrimony's at the top of my list right now. I love, and interesting because rose, as I mentioned, this is in the family of rose. Rose is one of my favorite plants. Rose, which is just this is in the rose family, but rose, there is a herb I use that's rose that just looks like the red or the pink roses, and you steep that. It's been beautiful as a heart opener for me. So I've always liked rose. So it's interesting though that agrimony is in this rose family. And it makes me also know that when I saw agrimony in the store, that I was being led to agrimony, and agrimony wanted to work with me. And I just think there's so much beauty in just going beyond what we're given as healing in, systems of healing in the healthcare system. So many of these things are pushed away, but there were intelligent people before healthcare systems like these were ever created that they thrived. And I think in many situations they were healthier than our state of being now. So it makes me want to go back to that and understand it more, and just be in this world of plants that you would never be able to experience every plant because there's so many. It's a whole different world. Just like in the ocean, that's an entirely different world. There are you know, animals in the ocean that we would never know about, because it's so deep and so vast. And I feel like plants are that same thing. So it's just like, it's something that's been a healing factor in my life, a grace in my life. And I hope you explore. Yeah, so that's what I want to share with you. That's what I want to share with you. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who you think may benefit. And I will see you next time. Bye.